He needs to beat Jordan with black pieces, otherwise you win.
Yeah, it's pretty good because before this round it felt like almost impossible. I mean, several people had to do certain results, which was kind of unexpected. Yeah, we'll enjoy the show.
We will definitely enjoy the show. So I say take it away, guys, because we're running.
The show has started. Liem, if he wins this game, he will win the tournament. Any other result means Duda wins the Oslo Esports Cup. What's happening on the board?
It's already about to be fire on the board. We have seen the open Spanish, and look at this. Black has just given up a knight and, okay, pushing a pawn. This is one of the sharpest lines in opening chess, and it's so trendy. Actually, the two players, they battled out in this opening earlier today already. So in that game, Liem had the advantage. Who knows what's going to happen right now? White has a bishop and a knight for black's rook and pawn. But look at the white king out into the open. Liem has done the right thing. Good opening choice. And
Duda is definitely paying attention to this together now with Anish Giri pacing a little bit. He will be nervous looking at this. Jan Christoph Duda. Ooh, what a tense finish we will have to the tournament. Jordan looks calm. He, of course, knows as well. With a draw in this game, we will head to tiebreaks between these two. But Jordan can, of course, also win this match.
Yep, Jordan can win this match, and of course he'll want to win this match. And actually, when these two faced each other just a couple of games ago, it was this opening, and Jordan won. So
okay.
Jordan, remember, he's on site with his second, Johann Sebastian Christensen. He would have been working away, tapping the computer, checking what the computer says about this opening. Liem is here alone.
Yeah, he doesn't. I think he was going to come with his wife, but that didn't happen in the end. So that's a big advantage to Jordan in this extremely sharp position. I mean, there's not even much point talking about how we got to this, because this is just theory.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you either know or you don't play. You just avoid it like the plague because it's so sharp. One bad move and you lose. I expect the computer's assessment of roughly equal is fair, but it's not a draw. There's so much going on here.
It's anything other than a draw. And for Liem, in a must-win situation, if he wants to win the tournament, it makes a lot of sense to go for this type of position. So imbalanced, so many lines open towards that white king. And Liem, as black, it's not easy to win, but he's got a good kind of foundation for that. And Jordan will have to answer some serious questions about that white king later in the game.
And everyone in the Oslo arena will be paying attention to this right now. Let's head back to the lounge and hear from Anish Giri.
You were laughing right now on this because it was Jordan who's actually playing for a win, it seems.
Yeah, no, I was joking with Jan Christoph because if Jordan was team Duda, or at least got already the money transfer, but it seems that the money hasn't arrived yet to Jordan's account, so he of course doesn't want to secure the first place for Duda. What is the point? He wants to win his own match, so he's playing for a win against an opening where you can play very safe and make a draw. So Jordan playing for a win means that, of course, there are chances for the Kwang.
And that's interesting because obviously these are two people with very, very different incentives right now.
Yeah, I think it's very, very good for Duda that Jordan is fighting and he has motivation to win this game. Of course, when you have 1.5, you know there's a lot on the line always. So with White, you want to push for a win, and yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what will happen. I still think that White, from the start, always the opening always looks good for White. So I think that Duda is a favorite now. But we'll see. It's a very exciting finish. I didn't even know, like at some point I saw the stats a few days ago. It was like 50% for Magnus, 30% or 38% like for Prague. And I assumed that this is going to be a two-horse race. But already earlier, I remember one time when I played Vaikanze before last round, I saw these stats and Jordan had 4%. I had much, much higher. And other people had also higher. And finally, he won the tournament with these 4%. So these percentages, they're deceiving.
But one thing's for sure, I don't think Duda wants Jordan overpressing now for that win.
Absolutely. We do have a few moves on the board. What does it look like?
We have a few moves, and it's so difficult to explain what's going on in this position because it is so chaotic. And Anish there, I was interested to hear his analysis. He was like, oh, it's a safe opening. You can play for a draw with White. How? How do you play for a draw with White in this position? I mean, look at this. I mean, there's pieces all over the board. White's king danced up the board, retreating. Maybe if you're a super grandmaster who studied this position for dozens of hours with a computer, then you can say, OK, it's pretty safe for white. But that white king is very, very open.
Would you ever play this line?
I would never dream of touching it.
I'll tell you an interesting statistic. According to my database, you know, basically nearly all the games end in a draw.
That's because Anish Giri knows everything, as we've learned from his chessboard courses. But, OK, a queen trade from Liem, taking that pawn with the queen, trading queens. Now I understand why maybe it's going to be a draw. I thought Liem, with that kind of must-win situation, tournament within his grasp, he would keep the queens on. But no, trading the queens, and suddenly we see a scenario where black has a rook and 2 pawns. That's worth 7 points. For white's bishop and knight, worth 6. But white's minor pieces are very, very strong in this endgame. And predictions, guys?
A draw. I'm just going by the stats here. I can see that in this database of maybe 50 games, I think about 45 of them have ended in draws, and 2 have ended in black victories, and the rest wins for white. OK,
so some black victories in there. Liem needs to hope for a black victory if he wants to win the tournament. Look at Jordan's clock. He's actually gained 2 minutes from when they started, and we're at move 22 now, and it's still theory. That's modern chess. These players have studied this position before.
Yeah. It's a little bit sad, really. So, I mean, well, it's not sad. It's just how chess is in the modern age. You don't need to think sometimes until you get to move 20. But you don't have to play like this. I mean, you can play like David as well. And by that, I mean, you don't really follow theory. I mean, you actually avoid it very early on, and you just play chess. So I'm actually surprised that Liam Lee has gone for this line. I know it's all tactical, it's all complex, but if it's known to lead to equal positions, why not just do something else, as a Sicilian, something like this?
Well, here comes the new move. Everyone in the database has actually played rook takes rook, and they played out that in-game. Here, Liem is like, no, I'm going to push Harry.
OK.
And always a good move, according to Simon. If you don't know what to do,
Always a good move, yeah. But
and maybe we can jump in just to show what's happening in the position, because we did mention it was wild earlier, but this is still, I mean, I say opening theory. We're pretty much in an endgame now. But after this last pawn push, a new move there. Normally black was actually taking the white rook. We saw Jordan. He's the one to capture the rooks off the board. So we see this material imbalance. These bishops balance each other out. Let's ignore them for a moment. Black has the rook and these 2 pawns, neither of which are passed pawns, but in return, white has a bishop and knight. And especially this bishop is just a fantastic piece. It's on an outpost. It can never, ever get kicked away. It kind of covers these squares, The white knight still needs to do some work to get active. Maybe Liem trying to push pawns towards it to try and kick it away. But I'm expecting a simple move from Jordan now, the most natural move in the position, stepping forward with the white king, hitting the black bishop. And the problem here for Liem is, how do you keep this bishop alive? The last thing you want to do is offer a trade here, because suddenly 2 bishops will nearly always beat 1 lone rook. And, OK, he doesn't go for the most natural move, attacking this bishop with the white king. Instead, Jordan brings his bishop forward, attacking the rook instead, and attacking this pawn. Another very interesting option there. And the problem for black is you want to get active with this rook that is threatened, but where do you put it? If you bring it down the whole way to give a check to the white king, then whoops, you walk into a double attack. And if you can't find active squares for that rook, you might be in trouble.
Jovanka, which side would you rather be here? Would you rather be white or black? If you had to pick a side to be?
I would rather be white.
White, because of the 2 minor pieces.
Because of the 2 minor pieces and the fact that they control so many squares. But I would say if black manages to trade off a set of minor pieces, I would just instantly be black.
Yep. I mean, sometimes the rook is so good in the ending, and it's better than the 2 minor pieces. But you do, as you say, it's a nice point. I think you need to change off your bishop for another piece to get that.
If you could eliminate these 2 pieces from the board, then black's rook gains a lot of squares. The problem is, it's just where do you put this rook? Literally, nearly every square is covered. OK, this is one of the few. I was going to say this square is covered, this square is covered, this square, not possible. So you have to bring it forward here. But look at Jordan attacking the black rook now, and if the black rook goes back, would we see a repetition of the position? White going forward. Maybe the black rook has to choose somewhere else. Liem needs to win. You can't repeat.
I mean, don't you find this opening choice a bit strange by Liem? I mean, if it's known as Anish, the oracle knows everything, says it's actually a draw most of the time, wouldn't you have?
I praised it earlier, but that's without knowing that it's all been analysed by computers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know that your opponent has studied it before, it's maybe a poor choice. And,
easy in hindsight, though, to say these things, of course, because you only know after something's happened, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
and also maybe Liem was kind of trying to second-guess Jordan and say, well, Jordan also needs to win if he wants to get up there at the top of the standings. So he didn't expect this type of endgame from him. But, OK, we see Liem move his rook to attack the dark squared bishop.
Bit of a weird square, bit of an ugly square for the rook, but gaining time.
Ugly.
Yeah, I guess the idea is you gain time, you hit the white bishop, and when the white bishop moves, you do have time to maybe push Harry, the h-pawn, down the board to kick away white's knight. Yeah, normally you don't want to put your rook on files where they will be blocked. You want them on open lines, like where the rook previously stood, but it's all about tempo, gaining time.
I guess the kind of thing that Black would like to see here, we can just maybe quickly show it, is if the white king travels towards the bishop now, which we mentioned earlier, and now Black could get that exchange of bishops off the board. So the black rook takes something, the white king takes something, and this is going to benefit Black in general because you get down to that rook versus two pieces. The rook is a lot easier to deal with. I mean, even here, I'm not sure because the rook's out of place, but as a general idea, that's what Black wants. Black wants to get rid of one set of minor pieces.
Yeah, especially, you mentioned, Simon, it's the bishops, because we talk about the bishop pair in, OK, white stepping back away from that trade. We talk about the bishop pair, but actually here they're phenomenally strong, these two white bishops together. If you can trade one of them off, no matter which bishop it is, you'll be happy. The one thing you don't want to do is trade off your black bishop for the white knight. You need to trade off your bishop for your opponent's bishop, and he's trying, yeah. Good move by Liem, trying to force these off the board. If these bishops depart, then maybe some decent winning chances for Black. The problem is, if you don't go for that trade, if Jordan just steps back with his white bishop, then it's going to be hard to trade off these pieces later. Yes, you gain time to kind of push forward, kick away the white knight, but the black rook, it just feels so misplaced. Not on an open line anymore.
I would imagine Duda is actually really feeling quite happy at the moment. He's probably watching this, chilling out, and he's thinking, yeah, I mean, come on, Jordan's not going to lose this position because I don't think he should lose this position with the white pieces. So I reckon he's a happy boy at the moment. And
on that note, Simon, let's head out to Sverre. Any sight of Duda, Sverre?
I actually have him right behind here. If we can show the camera on the backside, I see him watching together with Anish right now. They're following the screen. We also have Pragnananda right here. So it's definitely a lobby that is paying attention to this final game here. But I'm also, Kaja, standing here now together with Johan Sebastian Christiansen, who is the second of Jordan. And this is a familiar position to you.
Yeah, kind of. It's the line we prepared for this game. It's very solid, not too many... And not really risking too much and just playing very slow and going for a long game and in the end maybe catch Le Quang.
But you know, we're thinking a lot about the tournament win right now. But for Jordan, it's quite a lot of places that he can move either up or down, regardless on the spot he catches here. If, for example, he was to overpress for a win right now, that would mean that suddenly it could cost Duda the win as well.
Yes, exactly. But I don't actually think Jordan thinks too much about it. He's just playing and trying to win and not really thinking about who wins and who comes second and who comes third and so on.
So right now we have a lot of people watching the game going on this screen, but then there's also some people watching a game going on at a different screen. Inside of the lobby, there is also quite a bit of action. So right now, there's a lot of stuff going on, but our focus, that is directed very much at the chessboard right now.
Absolutely, Sverre. I thought I heard some shouting. Apparently, that was probably the Manchester United-Chelsea game going on. Magnus Carlsen, we did see following that, but this is way more dramatic than that Premier League game. If Liem wins this game, he will win the tournament. Any other results, and Duda will win. Everything depends on this final rapid game in the Oslo Esports Cup. Any hope for Liem here?
He might need help, Liem, in order to win this game, and it's exactly what Anish, what Johan Sebastian was saying. White is just rock solid, so it might depend on a blunder from Jordan for Liem to win this one. And first of all, there was a trade of those light squared bishops. We said that would probably help Black, but Black does have double pawns now on the g-file. Not ideal, those pawns, those black pawns, they are right for the picking at some point. White's king can go after them. Simon, do you think this trade has helped or still difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be a bit more comfortable if I was black here, because it's one less bishop to worry about in a position where that rook was in so much danger. So I think I'd feel more relaxed, as in my plan is simpler. I could just move my rook around. OK, I might lose a pawn, but I can just simply try to cause trouble with that rook. But as you mentioned, often the rook is better than the two minor pieces. But in this particular case, the two minor pieces, they just work so well. And with this last move, white is going to win a pawn. Look at the bishop in the middle of the board. You can't really move that away ever. It's going to stay there for all eternity. And it's easier for white to play, and better, I'd say. A little bit better for white. But saying that, draw most likely at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Simon. I really do think that the bishop and knight are just working beautifully together. But the key is actually to keep the black rook under lock and key. If you can control the movement of its movement, then it should be actually fine, and maybe you can even push for more.
Yeah, I definitely would be pushing for more here if I were white. And, OK, really instructive move there from Jordan. He brings the white king in, and it's definitely not the type of position where you should be greedy. If you take this black pawn, it looks like you can get away with it, but you do let the black rook into your position, and suddenly the black rook might start marauding, might start taking some pawns. So first, Jordan just lifts his king up, covering any entry squares the black rook wants to use. And, OK, the black rook has been given time to cover this pawn, so Liem, for now, still maintains all of his pawns intact, but yeah, white has full control. I mean, one move that I'm itching to play with white, and I've been itching to play for a long time, is to push this white pawn forward. And look at this bishop now. Simon mentioned it's impossible to ever kick it away, and now that this black pawn push has been just removed from the equation by white's pawn being here, this bishop is an eternal piece. And the bishop, the knight, they do completely lock out this black rook. So, OK, he's played it. Really important strategic move. Very nice positional one there. And also, these black pawns now are fixed too. So if the white knight can sneak around behind and grab them, I think Jordan will be a big favourite. But for now, it's still in the balance. It's time for the black king to join the party.
Yeah, very, very important to do that. Teamwork makes the dream work. We've said that many, many times. But in endgames, it's especially important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like your idea, David, to bring that knight around as well here. I mean, like, there's two black pawns on the queen side, which are both weak, and if I was white here, I don't want to move my bit. I mean, it's quite logical. I don't want to move my bishop. Bishop, fantastic. I can't really move any of my pawns. My king is OK. I could go towards the G pawn, but I don't see it really helping. So what do I do? Logically, the only piece I can move is my knight. So then you look at the best square for the knight and you start manoeuvring it to better squares. And, well, that's what I'd be thinking. Maybe we can show the route of that knight.
Which way do you want to go, Simon?
Well, maybe C2, let's say, and then I want to go to E1.
Say black just waits, for example, and then you drop back.
Yeah.
And then, for example, black just waits, you go forward, and, yeah, you're starting to leap towards these
weaknesses,
black pawns. So it takes a while, but there is a path forward.
Yeah.
And, OK, Liem gives a check instead, hitting the white king. I don't know what his idea is if the king moves forward. I guess he wants to deliver a check, hitting the white king, but very worst comes to worst, the king can just step back, and the black rook still can't creep into the position. OK, we see that on their screen as well. This is the current position. The reason I say the king should step back is because if you step forward, taking a black pawn, then suddenly the black rook finally gets to the second rank. That's its dream destination. Still not the end of the world for white, to be honest.
Still probably very good for white. But the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm liking white's position, because I really think great preparation by Jordan, because even though Anish said, OK, it's probably a draw, it's black who's always going to make the draw, has to make the draw in these positions, and white who's pushing. So, I think Duda, he's getting happier and happier the more the game goes on.
And I would just retreat here, at least repeat the position once. I think white maybe has other ways to do it, but Jordan, he's not, as we've seen, the most patient guy in the world, and he takes a pawn.
Yeah. He takes a pawn, OK, allowing the black rook to get active. But, I mean, presumably, I thought his idea was going to be knight takes pawn.
OK, so actually there was a nice tactic here, as Jovanka points out, taking this pawn off the board, actually opening up an attack against the black rook. But there, I guess, lots more pawns would disappear. Maybe white wants to keep pawns on the board. So instead, white pushed this guy forward. This is the potential winner. Note how it promotes on a dart square in the corner. And after black captured this pawn, white's knight is jumping forward. White wants to remove this pawn from the board and push his own trump card, this pawn later. So very difficult now. This is the target, but also White's knight wants to jump in with a nasty check. The black pawns are starting to drop.
Obviously, Liem must be nervous. He knows that if he wins this, he wins the tournament. Can Jordan somehow play a little bit on that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Jordan, I think that was the opening choice. You guys were praising it a moment ago. He chose an opening where, in order to create winning chances, Liem has had to take some risks. He maybe could have locked things down for a draw 5-6 moves ago, Liem, maybe even before that, but he needs to win. And yeah, we saw Liem take some odd decisions, and Duda looks very confident, we must say. Yeah, it's hard to imagine Black ever winning this position. Just how do you ever win this position? White's pieces are too good, the knight and bishop.
Yeah. I must admit, I'm surprised that Duda is so calm. If I were in his situation, I don't think I would be able to even watch this game.
It's a lovely position to be in, though, isn't it? Because, you know, whatever happens, it's not in your control. You've done your work, so you can sit back. The stress is out, and it doesn't really matter. OK, I mean,
that's true.
If you don't win, you've still done brilliantly well. So you know, I think it's nice.
Could the position be about to become complicated, though? Liem here, he does have one moment, one opportunity to push a pawn and at least rid the white bishop of its dream square, and he's done it. In this position, we just saw a capture here, Black pushing forward. It looked like a trade was about to happen, but if the black rook goes back and takes this pawn, then white's bishop finds its dream home in the middle once more. Remember, this pawn is so dangerous, and it might just win the game for white. Therefore, Liem said, OK, instead of taking this pawn for now, I'm going to leave it. And he pushes his own pawn. These 3 pawns are running, but also this white pawn running itself. And this is just 3 squares away from promotion now. Looking complicated. All the pawns should disappear, but Liem is the one fighting for the draw because white's pawn is the most dangerous of the bunch. I'd
actually love to see this get down to bishop and knight versus king. One of the hardest sort of endings to master. These guys should have mastered it, but we could even see that happening. But look at it, it's all happening on the right-hand side of the board now. This is the critical area at the moment. It's all about whether this pawn can push through and promote, but for now it's locked down by the black king. Black's king covers its square that it wants to advance to. So at the very minimum, if Jordan just wants to draw, he could give a check, for example. The black king could step back and he could take this pawn. I mean, this looks very natural to me, to be honest. But you are running out of pawns. Maybe this does give Black the time to just step back with his rook, for example. Maybe trade a set of pawns. I mean, what else do you play here if not this check for white? I don't really see anything else, to be honest.
So you think this is edging towards a draw?
A draw.
Looks that way. And at this, OK, we do see the knight check. And Black's king has to continue blockading the white pawn. I don't think you should go any other direction. This way just looks illogical somehow. It's still fine because if you push forward with a white pawn, the bishop drops. But yeah, why not blockade if you can? Why not blockade the white pawn?
And if this is a draw, that means we will finish the tournament with tie breaks, you guys. It's not going to decide the tournament winner. If this is a draw, then Duda will win no matter what. But we will get some dramatic tie breaks to finish off the Oslo Esports Cup. Yeah, and in those tie breaks, Liem would be fighting for second place, I guess. Yeah. Jordan also, I mean, lots of money at stake. Still very high stake tournament. And OK, 1 pawn has dropped. Yeah, and Liem actually does have to be a little bit careful because there is a big threat on the board. And white is actually threatening to push the king 1 square forward, deprive black of the black monarch of squares, and then threatens checkmate. Yeah, we have to show this mating net in the current position because, as Jovanka mentions, big threat if black is just careless. I'm looking for just a random move. Then white's king steps forward. Whoops. Again, this knight check is just terminal. If you waste a move with black, then this is actually a checkmate net. And I'm not sure the name of this checkmate, Jovanka, you're the expert there, but checkmate is checkmate, and this one is pretty bad for black. This one's called checkmate. You're also an expert as well, Simon. I did do a video series on it, and really? I know Lawrence Trent has actually done some stuff for Ginger GM where he did an attacking course. Yeah, so like between all 3 of us, we should know all the names. The spider web checkmate. The Norwegian spider. Do you have, what kind of spiders does you have in Norway? Gross ones, like every other country. Gross Norwegian spider checkmate. You could call it Edderkopp mate. Edderkopp mate. Yeah, just
Yeah. So Black's rook is coming, trying to stop this checkmate. I'm just wondering how you stop it, though. For example, if the White King does march forward in this direction, reinstating this threat of trapping the Black King, Black has to give a check, literally nothing else you can do. And then the White King maybe moving this way. You've got to be careful now, because if you keep checking, then White is going to kind of close the net around the Black King. And suddenly this would pretty much end the game. So you have to be really careful here as Black. In the current position, I'm expecting, because of these incoming checks, White to start centralising the king. Still, it feels like it should be a draw with best play, because there aren't too many pawns remaining. If Black can remove all these pawns from the board, the left side, then it should be a draw. Once those pawns disappear, Black can actually use his rook and go and give itself up for this pawn and for the White bishop. That should secure the draw, but you're running out of time as Black. White can still create some threats in the process.
Yeah. And also, I was just thinking, if the White King runs all the way to the left, maybe there might be even possibilities of trying to keep the White pawn alive.
Yeah. So if White can keep one of his pawns alive, he's likely to win. It just depends on whether you can keep that White pawn on the c3 square alive. That might be the key pawn later on. But if Black offers up a trade on that side, it's likely you might have to trade off. We'll see. Jordan, he knows that there's zero risk now for White, I think. Which is good news for Duda, but yeah, he's looking for ways to win.
So Jordan, basically, he needs to keep both of his pawns alive.
At least one of them.
Okay.
He wants to make Black give up the Black rook for one of the pawns, but he also needs to keep both his minor pieces, the bishop and knight, and one of the pawn alive.
It's a bit like
Seems like a lot to do.
A lot to do. That's why it's so difficult to win. But
it's kind of study-like. You get these kind of studies that David showed yesterday, which are composed like positions, where you know there's this beautiful idea there. And I imagine Jordan loves these kind of things. You know, he's very good at finding the tactics in certain positions. So I think he'll be pushing for a while here. As you will mention, I don't think Liam Lee's chances of winning are great. The tournament. I mean, something's going to have to go wrong, isn't it, if he's going to win this now, I think so.
I think Liem just needs a mouse slip or something. Yeah, Black can never really win this position, because at the very minimum, White's just going to maybe give some checks with the White Knight. The Black King is just a blockaded defensive piece. Yeah. And, yeah, the other endgame we mentioned there, Simon, and one I'm hopeful we'll see as well, is White having a bishop and a knight against just the Black King.
I'd love to see that. I mean, I was watching a previous show, actually, where Jovanka was lovely. You were demonstrating the W technique.
Really?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Last season, I think I was at home, chilling out with a beer, watching you demonstrate it. I was in the other place, and, yeah, I remember you saying how it happens.
It's super easy, actually.
Oh, I don't know about super easy.
It is.
Whoa. Many grandmasters don't know how to do that. So.
Yeah, but because you just have to remember, it is quite geometrical once you memorise the patterns. But anyway, there's been a check.
The bar is going up. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised he went backwards, Jordan, there, because I did show there was kind of a checkmating idea in the position. If White's king had gone forward, I'm not sure where the White king is going now, but yeah, either way, Liem did prevent the immediate checkmate in one move, where White's knight was going to go towards the Black King. Now Black's king does have an escape square. So still heading towards the draw. And yeah, I disagree, Jovanka. I think in practice, if you just have a board, it's really easy, bishop and knight. But imagine in a game situation, big crowd, clock ticking, it's not easy at all.
I don't know. I think my method is pretty...
But there's been some cases, famous cases. I mean, wasn't it in the Women's World Championship final where one of the players couldn't checkmate with it? One of the biggest matches.
Yeah,
you know? I mean, she's a very strong
she's
grandmaster.
Not the only one, Pishin. Yeah. But I think it's because most people take a very practical approach. They go, what are the chances I'm ever going to get that checkmate? I don't need to learn it. I'll figure out over the board.
Do you think Jordan knows how to checkmate with a bishop and knight against a king?
Yes. I mean, I remember once, actually, it was Lawrence Trent playing against Ivan Sokolov, and it was a much more complicated two knights and a pawn. Two knights against the pawn and a king. And he was so upset with himself because, you know, he knew the technique and he just didn't quite do it.
What, Lawrence or Lawrence?
No, Lawrence was defending.
Right, OK.
Yeah. OK, we have just kind of bypassed an interesting moment, because Jordan's definitely playing for the win. He didn't trade off a set of pawns on this left-hand side, so White, note how he blocked things up with his own pawn, so he has one pawn remaining for later. Jordan, meanwhile, just choosing his playlist, very relaxed there, choosing his song. And Black's pawn is only 2 squares away from promoting. But it is stopped by white's bishop at the top of the board. Look at the white bishop. It's got its eye the whole way back down the diagonal, stopping the black pawn from pushing on. And a check first from Liem.
Yeah.
When in doubt, give a check. Good endgame technique.
Definitely. I think Liem has a really crafty idea in mind. He's going to carry on checking the white king and tempt it to go forward.
OK, so hitting the white king right now, tempting this king to go forward. And if it does step forward, Jovanka?
Yeah, no, actually, I wanted it to go backwards first.
OK, backwards first.
Yeah, sorry, Howard.
You're asking a lot. Forwards, backwards, sideways.
It's been a long week, Simon. So now rook check.
OK.
And now it's provoked. Now if the king goes forward, say, yeah, now you can push your pawn.
Yeah, now you can push your pawn. And yes, the bishop is kind of covering the square, but now the black rook also can just capture the bishop. So it's a bit tricky where to put the king in, in the current position here. But if the king goes forward, same idea. The black rook will come down, threatening to push. And this white bishop from afar, it's a bit overworked, defending its own pawn and trying to stop black's pawn. It's very difficult for Jordan. If the king comes towards the rook in this manner, I think the black rook will just sidestep. And same idea, it's going to drop down and kind of cover the second rank for this pawn to push. It's interesting, but it's very difficult to see how white ever stops this pawn now long term.
Yeah, it's also very difficult to see how black will even win, even if the best thing happens and he wins the bishop.
Yeah. And, OK, a knight block in this position, the white knight blocking the check and black's rook just sidestepping. This is a really annoying pin for white to break. And how do you break it? That's the problem. For example, if the king marches forward, this is a nice tactic, then suddenly black's rook can actually take this pawn off because after the bishop recaptures, suddenly black makes a queen. This is maybe the only way that Liem could win this game if Jordan forgets about the pawn pushing forward. But, of course, Jordan won't forget about that. So he doesn't go away with the white king. He goes back, so still within distance, for example, if that happens again, of black's pawn. So the white king can ride to the rescue now and stop this guy. And both sides are a bit stuck. Therefore, Liem just waiting with the black king.
I mean, if he moves his knight backwards now to try to cover that pawn in the best way you can, and then tries to move his king towards the black pawn, that looks like pretty decent winning attempt to me, and he has gone for this. So, and the point is, as white, if I can round up that one annoying black pawn, if I can win that pawn, and I want to bring my king towards it and sort of suffocate it and then take it, well, I should have great winning chances then. But I can put my king, I mean, on that square, then block with the knight. We can maybe show that happening.
For example, if black just waits, if black waits too long, then whoops, you cut the coordination between the black rook and the black pawn, and slowly but surely you grab this guy, then you go up, and same thing again, you eventually round up this black pawn. OK, wow, Liem is playing with fire. He's marching forward with the black king. To catch up with the game. Maybe he wants to win this position still.
This is maybe a mistake.
How is this a mistake?
Because, OK, now that the king has retreated, I was thinking that the rook would come down to the first row, just to, you know, pin the knight. Maybe you can actually just sidestep and just go king to...
Yeah, the king could march forward here because you can't actually take white's knight. Suddenly the black king, because it's run away, this pawn promotes on the next turn. It's all about the pawns. White's pawn, black's pawn, who's going to make the queen in the current position, though Liem found a nice move. He's cut off the white king on the second rank. I think this is the key move, stopping the white king advancing now. And this check from white, the question is now, back or forward? Into the centre, brave, courage, or safety first?
Ooh,
He goes back.
Backwards, yeah.
Yeah, but that means he can't really win this game if you're going back.
No.
And
I think he's given up his hope of winning. I feel Liem at the moment. I think he's going for the draw and realises that, you know, that's the best he can get here.
Can Jordan win it though?
He needs help. If the white king, Jordan's much closer than Liem to win it. If the white king, as Simon mentions, is able to step up onto the second rank and win that black pawn, then white's definitely winning. Not even a question anymore.
Look at Duda.
And
he looks so chilled, doesn't he, now? So
trying to stifle a smile, maybe.
Yeah.
He knows he is getting so close to winning the Oslo Esports Cup. He started out losing the match to Magnus Carlsen, and here he is getting close to winning the whole thing.
Yeah. Imagine he started out losing to Magnus on day one, also to 1 F3, and we talk about karma in chess. Imagine the heartbreak of losing to an opening like that, but then coming back and winning the event. He's putting those ghosts to bed. So if Duda wins it, which is looking very likely now, then he's deserved it, definitely.
Yeah, and Duda actually didn't even get any birthday luck either. You know, he's had turns 24 and he loses in a tiebreak to Liem, who now he's kind of hoping can not win this game.
He's been the king of the tiebreaks, Duda. So many tiebreaks. He won most of them, and other than against Liem, of course. But yeah, I mean, he's a fighter, calls himself the Polish fighter, and yeah, fortune favours those who fight. Right now, Jordan trying to go back to the centre with his knight. I'm not sure where that knight's going.
I think, well, really the only piece that White can use to try and win this position is the knight.
Yeah.
He can't really use his king, he can't use his bishop, so he's trying to find somewhere for his knight to go to. But I like this move from Liem, who attacks that pawn, and now just simply comes back asking the question, OK, well, where actually are you going to go with that knight? You can only attack one pawn. I'll defend it, I'd imagine.
Yeah, if the knight ever moves from where it's sat right now, Black will go back after White's pawn on the c-file.
There is
but
one.
What about this idea, actually?
Yeah.
You just give up the protection of the h6 pawn and you just go, right, let's bank on Charlie.
Yeah.
C-pawn.
Yeah, of course, yeah. and you've also got maybe some checkmate idea and bringing the knight back if you know at some point there's a funny checkmate there. Maybe we can just show it. Let's say the rook defends the pawn, for example.
In this position?
Yeah, just for example. It's probably a bad move, but just to show. And now the knight comes in to attack the pawn again, and the rook goes back, let's just say, because it's a pretty pattern. And now the knight can, of course, take the pawn, which is good, but the check is quite tempting, and the king goes in the corner, and the bishop checkmates it. And I just like these patterns. I mean, that was like basically with the worst possible play that Black could ever do.
A lot of help from Black there.
A lot of help. Black had to self-mate himself, but it's a pretty pattern, and we like our pretty patterns.
That was used against me.
What's that one called? We've got to give that one a name, haven't we? Anyone? Any advice?
Can it be the Kaya mate? Because I would fall into that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could call it the Kaya mate.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
Or we could even ask people in the chat as well.
Yeah.
But Kaya mate's quite.
I quite like the Kaya mates.
Kaya mate's nice, yeah.
Yeah, I would fall into that every single time.
Meanwhile, a nice move from Liem, we should say, keeping an eye on this pawn, so fixing down the white knight. The white knight has to keep protecting that pawn. And the problem for Jordan is if he ever gets greedy with his own bishop, then suddenly the king is let out of its box. The king can remove this important pawn. And, yeah, the king will just journey over, and it should be a simple draw. There's no way really to push this pawn forward while also winning Black's pawn. Black's pawn is a thorn in White's side. And actually, the position has repeated itself. And, OK, I was going to say, if Liem brought his rook back, that would have been the second time we saw that position, maybe headed towards a draw. But Liem says, no, I don't even need to do that. I can wait with the Black king.
The bar's gone
crazy, and I'm just having
mental.
a look at the computer as to why it's gone crazy, and it says that it's winning for White because of this move.
OK,
why?
Now the idea is if rook takes pawn, this is a nasty knight fork. You've walked into the wrong square. Your king and rook are within touching distance.
Are we going to see the Kaya mate? It could be the Kaya
Look
mate.
at the bar, you guys!
OK, what is happening here? So the Black king has stepped back to safety, and wow, this is amazing. The winning idea is a check from the white knight. The king marches back, and now you just move the bishop. He hasn't found it, Jordan. It's not easy. You just move your bishop out of the way somewhere. You guard this square that the Black rook wants to use, and you actually give up your knight. Wow, that was
a tough
beautiful.
one.
This is
difficult to spot.
Yeah, very difficult.
Here, the idea is that the white knight drops, but the white pawn steps forward, and no way to prevent a new queen. That was difficult. We can't blame Jordan for finding.
Duda reacting to all of this? I'm curious to see him right now. That was getting very close for Duda. He is looking very calm, but it's getting close for him.
Oh, I see a slight smile there. Yeah, you know, it is edging towards a draw.
But that's how tricky it is when your opponent has a knight. Just one small slip. If you put your king and rook on the wrong square, you walk into danger. But yeah, I mean, that one, maybe in an over-the-board game, long game, he would have found it. He still has 5 minutes, or had 5 minutes, Jordan, but it's so hard to just kind of change the pace and notice that one moment.
Yeah.
I feel like that mate was so beautiful. It's like if chess were like a sporting kind of thing, we'd have an action replay. Look at this.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
I think you should get extra points for pretty mates.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Some little
Like
sparkling
study-like
mate.
finishes.
No, but that would force people to resign early to avoid the extra points, to avoid the...
But you
yeah,
can't
that's
resign,
true.
of course. You're not allowed to resign. So.
Oh,
approve of
and
that
it's, I think, is it...
No, you need your knight at the top of the board, I think, again.
What the bar has...
Easy to...
But if he moves the bishop now, can you do it? Oh, no, because then you have to guard the pawn.
Actually, maybe you can repeat the position. You can go back where you came from, still for that same trick, using the knight. So hard
to see. I mean, this
so what are we looking
the same
from,
trick
from Jordan now?
On the board.
So this trick is in the position. For Jordan to win this game, he has to play this knight check. That's actually the most obvious move in the position, but it's not that one. It's the second move, which is most difficult, planting the knight on this square. Remember, there's a knight check here, there's a knight check there. We've had this position before, and OK, the stockfish there, I think maybe not spotting the horizon not deep enough, and as mentioned, this is the killer blow. The knight check, the king move, but this is the difficult one to see. It's like 4 moves in advance, so we can't blame Jordan if he doesn't find it, but dropping the white bishop back, covering this square that the black rook wants to use, and also after the king takes, to push forward with his pawn. He's found the first move.
Oh, he's found the second.
He's found the second move.
If he finds this, he's a genius.
This is the move he has to find, a knight check, and he wins the game.
Will he find this?
He doesn't find it. He is.
Keeping us on tenterhooks there.
But it goes back to, like, you've got to look at all the checks, you know, it's that basic rule. Check the checks out and check the forcing moves. So he should have considered it for longer, considering his time.
The thing is, he's still got a winning position after the king moved. So after White's knight came to protect its pawn, this move, bringing the knight back, would win, except he's had that position twice before. So that would be the 3rd time. So it's a winning move, but it would allow an immediate draw. And, OK, the white bishop steps back, and we've had this position before as well. 2nd time we've seen this position. If Jordan brings his bishop back, it's a draw.
All right, let's take a look at Duda now. With this, it could be a draw now with this next move.
Could well be. It's looking very likely.
Well, I'd love to see him celebrate. Can you imagine him running around?
We see a smile. We do see a smile on Duda's face. This next move can decide if he wins the Oslo Esports Cup.
Right, the game goes on.
The game goes on. The suspense is so hard.
I think a draw is almost inevitable now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, the game goes on. White's goal to try and win this game is to push the white pawn forward far enough that the black rook has to sacrifice itself for that white pawn. But the problem is the black king is coming over now. And no matter when you start moving the white knight, white bishop around, black will get an opportunity to bring over king over, give up the pawn for, give up the rook for a piece and the pawn. White's king is just in a cage. That's the problem. White's king is just terrible, not participating.
It's a pretty simple draw now, I think, and we're going to see it probably happening in the next minute or two.
The only trap is not to walk into a knight fork. No knight checks that hit the black king and the black rook at the same time.
What kind of celebration do you think we're going to see from Duda? Do you think he's going to do the double fist pump? Is he going to do the Mexican wave celebration?
A little bit of Ronaldo,
maybe? What, shirt off, running around the hall?
The Hussein, what was Hussein Bolt?
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. Yeah, what was the dab?
Farah.
Maybe the in-betweeners dance we were looking at earlier.
Oh, yeah. Should we do that together?
No.
Wow, Jordan's about to give up his knight. He's about to push his pawn forward, and that's actually a great winning attempt. I don't think it wins, but here we go. We could see some flashy end to this game. White's knight is under fire from the black rook, but he pushes his pawn forward. So now if black goes and uses the black rook, captures the white knight, white will win. White's pawn pushes forward, and there's no way to stop it. You have to bring the black king back now, surely. Is that the only defence? Maybe we can see the stockfish moves now. I think if you take this white knight, you lose. And, OK, he found the best move. OK, he could have made another option as well, but the black king is just in time to go back and stop this pawn.
We're heading towards a draw in this game. That means tie breaks. It also means Duda wins the tournament. And Liem must be very aware of that right now. He has been fighting hard, trying out different stuff.
He's tried, and unfortunately not enough. Jordan just too solid. The opening choice may be wrong for Liem.
This is the last trick, and Liem has covered it straight away. I think he was hoping for the king to retreat when actually White would have won again. But with this move, it's a draw.
The black rook locks it down, and actually White here has to be slightly careful. You have to go for the draw immediately because White's bishop and White's knight are attacked at the same time.
A little bit of nervous time for Duda then. You know, still...
He's 2 moves away, Duda, now from winning the tournament.
Oh, you know.
A draw is inevitable now after the bishop disappears. Everything's disappearing. It's king versus king.
What's
and
Duda going to do? Double fist pump?
It's
One fist pump.
over. Jan Christoph Duda wins the Oslo Esports Cup. We see some congratulations from his fellow players. Let's get Duda.